everybody. Thanks, Mike, and thanks, Karen. It's a pretty good follow-on because what we see is we see a lot of fraud in e-commerce, and we see them coming from the same areas. So it's a $100 billion opportunity right now. This is just money being left on the table, and it's panicked merchants, it's merchants not shipping internationally, it's bringing in verified by Visa and causing a 52% cart abandonment from it. And you know, just to give you an idea of the scale, one of the largest global payment gateways in 2012, their merchants refused $25.5 billion of orders because the payment gateway falsely flagged it. So the payment gateway said, there is a risk here. The merchant said, I'm not taking any risk. I can't afford a loss. I'm a small merchant, and rejected the order. So up to 80% false positives. That's what we're seeing across all our network. Fraud right now is $20 billion. And the interesting thing, you know, if you thought anything would grow as fast as e-commerce, it's growing at twice the rate of e-commerce. And that's on a global basis, no particular hubs. And causing lots and lots of extra cost. So what sits behind this fraud is rooms full of people doing manual review, looking at you on Google, absolutely no metrics behind it. They look you up on Google, they check your order, they waste 200 million man days a year on manual review. Post that manual review, 8% are still fraud. And we've watched them and we sat with them, and it's, you know, does David Rowan exist on Google? Yes, he does. Is he on Twitter? Yes, he is. Is he on LinkedIn? Yes, he is. That mightn't be the right guy. You know what? Before we send this bike, let's look at his house on Street View to see if he is a nice house. And people are looking at this and making supposedly intelligent decisions around e-commerce. You've seen the numbers. They're absolutely bizarre. They're scary. 140 million credit cards hacked. PF Chang's a few weeks ago, they're saying it's between 7 and 9 million cards. They were in there for 7 months, dripping cards out the back door. I know because I'm buying the cards. We're buying the cards using Tor from Russian websites. We're testing the cards on our own system. I can buy any live credit card with the 3 digits on the back for 25 bucks right now. It's a broken system. If you go to PF Chang's, so I live in New York, so I went to PF Chang's a couple of days ago, and they're scraping cards. I'd forgotten what it was called, but you put a bit of paper in and they scrape your card across. And the merchants aren't finding these. These are now being found by finding victim one. The credit card companies are finding a relationship between the cards that are hacked. They're informing the FBI, and the FBI are telling the merchants, turn off your systems, you've been hacked. With no pain for the merchants. That's the interesting thing, and I think David spoke about it a while ago. All loss sits with the merchant. Visa have no loss, MasterCard have no loss. I'll talk about that in a second. Mobile. This is where it gets really serious. We're moving at a massive speed towards mobile. We're moving towards 32% e-commerce now coming from mobile. Most decision engines, most fraud gateways out there make their first decision at an IP address. We don't have one in mobile. If we're all here today on EE or on T-Mobile or whatever, we all have the exact same IP address. We have the IP address of the GGSN of the network. So this is bringing its real big worries with it. Starting to talk about getting at device ID. Apple are now blocking ways up to the radio. So there is essentially no exact determination that you are who you say you are on mobile. Rules. So this is how the industry had thought they would solve everything. Let's block countries. Let's block particular cards in particular countries. Let's eliminate risk. But the problem is if you eliminate risk, you eliminate commerce. So you have to leave some piece open to do business. Again, you know, extraordinary numbers. This business didn't exist 3 years ago. Now you have 500 million Chinese credit cards, 60,000 people a week joining the middle classes, insatiable demand for Western goods. And what are we all doing? No, thank you. Please queue outside our high street stores to spend money with your cash. We're not selling to China online. It's the biggest opportunity in the world. We don't sell globally. I couldn't believe these stats. Only 10% of USA retailers ship internationally. I moved to New York a few weeks ago and I kept getting these messages. It's your nephew's birthday, it's your godson's birthday, it's someone else's birthday. Buy Hollister, which is a terrible shop to go into because you can't see anything. But these 9, and these are just the first 9 I found. So I looked up the top 20 international brands, and none of these sell internationally. They might have a local operation in the UK, but they don't sell from their .com brand outside the whole country. So I phoned them and I spoke to a few people. Too much risk of fraud in international. Only 9% of European retailers sell to a second European country. We use the same currency and we're in the same land block. As I said, all risk sits with the merchant. And that's where e-commerce is traditionally broken. So your payment gateway charges you 2.9%, 30 cents per transaction, but they take no risk. So payment gateways are a tax, as far as I'm concerned. Your merchant accounts cost, your chargebacks cost. So for everything that's stolen from you, you also get a very nice letter from your payment provider that says, hey, we took the money out of your account, and by the way, we charge you $15 for the letter. So the unfairness is really tough at the moment. And it's a tough time to be an internet retailer. And it's especially a tough time to be a global retailer. So it's a 1.5 trillion market right now. We're working with, I don't know, 300 to 500 merchants. We're doing a couple of billion data points a month. This is the pitch. We're European Startup of the Year. We're South by Southwest Big Data Startup of the Year. We're just moved to New York. I've got 20 people in Cork, myself and my co-founder. It's my third startup. It's probably the most interesting business I've ever looked at. It's the one with the most reward, I think. To allow companies to sell global and flatten the internet, it's an incredible opportunity. And it's 100 billion a year. Thanks very much.
So what exactly does Trustev do? How do you work out that this is a genuine trade in real time?
So Trustev looks at about 280 different points on a transaction. Mobile location, device, behavioral biometrics, IP address, proxy. Have we seen the devices before? Have we seen anything of this pattern across all of our network anywhere? And it's a couple of minutes integration, 2 lines of code. And
so if I'm buying something with this device,
yep.
What happens that I'm not aware of?
So when you're so right now with that, you're entering your mobile number into the cart. So I'm doing a VLR lookup. I'm getting the base that you're attached to sell to the nearest cell.
A VLR lookup?
Yeah, that tells me the country.
Okay.
I use SS7 signaling to tell me the base station you're attached to.
So this uses the cell towers to work out exactly where I am.
Yeah.
How near can you locate me?
Dependent on, I can attach you to the nearest base station.
Okay, so you know that David using this phone is in this location.
Yes.
That seems credible.
That seems credible. So he's sending something to a location that has a relation to where he is right now.
Okay.
He has the behavior that he had before on this app. He's behaving the exact same way. He's moving, he's typing at the same speed. He's on the same device.
So you check the speed of my typing?
Yes.
And this is all without me realizing?
There's permissions on the website, obviously, but we're allowed check because you're making a purchase.
And you don't have that big call center full of people looking up my house on Street View?
Nothing.
But do you check my social media profile?
We do some social media checking. It's our head of fraud is the ex-head of fraud at Facebook. So it depends on where the customer, if the customer has social media, the person's selling, and there is a relationship there, we're able to check them. And we do a lot of deep level looking at social media around, do we trust your friends? Do we trust your address? How do you post? Are you a bot?
I don't trust many of my friends. How long does this process take?
Right now, we do a complete end-to-end lookup on a human, their devices, their behavior, their location in about a fifth of a second. 242 milliseconds is our average in the last 30 days.
Wow. And how many times a day are you doing this?
A couple of billion a month.
Wow. So you get to know an awful lot of data about me. What if I start to get worried about this private company having all this data about, where I am, who my friends are, whether they're trustworthy friends? I mean, what do you do with the data once I've made that purchase?
We completely anonymize everything. We don't look at the relationship between that and a third party and a third retailer. After every transaction, everything's anonymized.
So when Errol Damelin of Wonga spoke at Wired Money last year, he was also saying that when they decide in real time whether to make a not very cheap loan to somebody, they use lots of data points.
Yeah. We'd work with a lot of the people in that space.
So is it going to be a battle to see which company can get the most data points, the most reliable data points?
Not necessarily. In our opinion, it's for us, it's to keep the data points internal. We don't believe in going to external sources as much as we can because it changes the business model completely. So we keep most of our information internal, stuff that we can build ourselves and keep on our network. But I think it becomes who becomes the fastest rather than who becomes the holder of the most information.
So we saw some numbers in an earlier presentation about the proportion of supermarket baskets that are abandoned because people get frustrated. What realistically do you think your algorithms can reduce that to?
So we want to move towards payments early next year. If you can move towards payments with that level of identity, you can completely remove the cart on the second purchase. So then it's just a decision. You have me, you know who I am, we know who you are, you make a purchase. If we were taking risk right now, our abandonment would be 0.02%.
0.02?
Yeah.
Why do I still have to use Verified by Visa then, which is not a pleasurable experience?
I think it's legally mandated in the UK, as far as I'm aware. We think it's a very bad experience. We think it's a very bad cart abandonment issue. Everybody, when they set up the account, panicked and they can't use the same password again, and you tend to walk away. And I mean, run a Twitter search on Verified by Visa, and you'll find out how much people liked it.
So what's the catch? If this is going to save merchants trillions of pounds, why aren't they already doing something like this?
I think there's so many alternative solutions that right now there's a gap for something that does everything, and that's where we're playing, and it's really growing very quickly, much quicker than we expected.
Well, come to see why. Thank you very much from Trustev, Pat Phelan.